It's my world. Just make sure you pussy ass take us, y'all gotta take us together. With my baby. I love him. I love him so much.
She told her sister, "I feel like I'm going to die." And a few days later, her family was standing behind crime scene tape, staring at a stretch of Dallas roadside where a woman's body had been found with a single wound to the chest. A mother, a daughter, a businesswoman, now lying under a sheet while officers quietly confirmed what everyone in that moment was praying wasn't true, that the woman who loved everyone so loudly had been left in silence by the one person she had loved the most. If you're watching this on True Crime Watch HD, take a second right now to tap subscribe, hit the like button, and turn on notifications. Because stories like this don't just keep you informed, they might help you or someone you love recognize a dangerous pattern before it's too late. Her name was Dishier Stevenson, and before her life became a cautionary tale shared on the evening news, she was simply that woman in Dallas everyone seemed to know, the one who hustled hard, laughed loud, and showed up for people in ways most of us only talk about. Born in 1988 and raised in a tight-knit family, Dee understood responsibility earlier than most. She wasn't just dreaming about a good life. She was building one brick by brick, order by order, client by client. By her mid-30s, she turned her nickname, She Money, into a brand, running a boutique that sold clothes, bags, lashes, and more. The kind of place where customers felt less like shoppers and more like cousins stopping by to support her grind. And when tax season rolled around, she switched hats and became the person people trusted to help them get their paperwork and their refunds right. On social media, you saw the highlight reel, racks of new inventory, videos of her rapping along with coworkers at the tax office, selfies in outfits she'd later sell to followers who wanted to look just like her. But behind that feed was a schedule that would exhaust most people, running the boutique, handling tax clients, and then going home to the two people she loved more than anything on earth, her teenage daughter and her mother. Her daughter, Maya, wasn't just her child. She was her best friend, her shadow, her why, the reason she pushed so hard. When Maya turned 17, Dee handed her the keys to a car, not just as a gift, but as proof that a woman who started with very little could still create something better for the next generation. At the same time, Dee was also a caregiver, helping her mother after a stroke left her partially paralyzed, juggling medication, appointments, and daily support, making sure her mom was clean, comfortable, and never left wondering if she was loved. If you pause and think about that for a moment, you start to see the picture of who she was, someone who poured out time, energy, and money into everyone around her, someone who rarely, if ever, put herself first. And then there was Michael. To the outside world, Michael Smith seemed like an unlikely match made perfect, a quiet man with a low-key demeanor standing beside this vibrant, camera-ready woman who lit up every room. They had met years earlier, long before the tragedy, and whatever you might think about her choices, the feeling she had for him was real. She saw someone who had been knocked around by life and believed that with enough love, support, and stability, he could become the partner she always wanted. But in 2016, their story hit a wall that would have ended most relationships. Michael was arrested, charged, and sent to prison. For many people, that would have been the end, a hard stop. A chapter closed with a turned page. For Dee, it became a new test of loyalty. Instead of walking away, she leaned in. While he was behind bars, she visited when she could, wrote messages, took his calls, and let him know that whatever was happening outside those walls, she was still in his corner. She kept building her businesses, kept taking care of her family, and still made room in her life for this man who could give her almost nothing tangible in return. You have to ask yourself, if you were in her shoes, would you have stayed that committed? And if you have ever tried to love someone through their worst moments, do you recognize that same pattern of giving more than you get back? Fast forward to May 2021. The countdown was over. Michael's release date had finally arrived, and Dee made sure she was the one waiting. There's footage of that day, her makeup done, voice high with excitement as she films him walking out in that standard issue shirt, her calling out to family and friends watching on live. "Yeah, I got him. I got him." The way someone might talk about finally bringing home a long-awaited prize.
This what they been waiting on, ain't it? Ouch! Ain't nothing so heavy, I ain't the crime them things. This one I ain't just made him no crime. Baby, you got my ID.
Hey. Me too.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you. I'm finna fly back home. Not right here. Cause my finna eat steaks and shit. You gonna have to pull up today, so a bunch of drunk shit going on in this house. I'm finna take them to see his mama first stop.
You can hear the nervous laughter, the relief, the sense that this is supposed to be the moment everything turns around. Two people in a car, headed back to Dallas, talking about food, about family, about plans, about making up for lost time. For Dee, this wasn't just a ride home. It was a reset, proof that the years she spent standing by him had meant something. Within days of that car ride, she took a step that would permanently bind her life to his. Only a week after he walked out of prison, Dee and Michael went down to the courthouse and got married. 7 days. No long engagement, no drawn-out planning, just a woman who believed her loyalty had finally been rewarded, signing her name next to his and calling it forever. Later, once she had the resources and the time, she gave them the big celebration too. A real wedding with the white dress, the ceremony, the dancing, the photos, everything you'd expect to see in a highlight reel of We Made It. And she didn't just show up as the bride, she showed up as the financier, paying for the venue, the clothes, the rings, the look, turning what could have been a quiet milestone into a statement. We are solid, we are blessed, we are the real thing. Online, she spoke about him the way some people speak about miracles, calling him her king, her gift from God, writing long, emotional posts about how lucky she felt to have such a handsome partner, even going so far as to say she didn't know what she had done to deserve him. Those words matter because they hint at something deeper than simple admiration. They reveal a woman whose self-image might not have matched the strength and beauty everyone else saw. A woman who thought she had to overprove her worth to keep the person she loved. And if you've ever watched a friend in that kind of relationship, where their entire being starts to revolve around one person, you know how dangerous that imbalance can become. Dee didn't just bring Michael into her heart, she built a life around him. Before he came home, she found a new house, a brick place with a yard and a 2-car garage. And when she walked through it on video, you could hear how proud she was, pointing out the kitchen where she'd cook for family gatherings, the jacuzzi tub she joked about, the extra rooms that meant space not just for her daughter, but for the future she imagined with her husband. She repeated one phrase over and over, "We're really living like that," not as a brag, but as if she still couldn't believe what she'd managed to accomplish. And when Michael moved in, he stepped straight into that comfort, into a home he hadn't helped pay for, into a life that had been carefully arranged for him while he was away. From there, the pattern hardened, Dee working, planning, creating, and Michael becoming the center of the rewards. Vacations weren't just getaways, they were productions, trips where she made sure he had outfits, jewelry, the experience. On one birthday trip, she pulled out what looked like a Bible, asked him to open it, and inside was a new ring and stacks of cash. A surprise $10,000 gift handed over with a smile and the kind of language that makes it clear she didn't see it as a sacrifice. She saw it as love. She told her viewers she didn't care what he did with it, that what was hers was his, that when you have two hustlers, everything hits different, as if they were a perfectly matched team rather than one person carrying the bulk of the weight. Moments like that look romantic in clips, but they also show a dynamic where one person is pouring out almost everything, and the other is getting used to catching it. Meanwhile, she was weaving him into every corner of her world. He appeared in the background of her business content, in family time, in mother-daughter moments, and even on days that were supposed to be about him, like Father's Day. She was the one doing the most, posting publicly about his role in her daughter's life, trying to solidify him not just as a husband, but as part of the family's foundation. To friends and relatives looking in, he often seemed quiet, polite, almost shy, the kind of man who fades into the background at gatherings, letting his charismatic wife do all the talking. Some of them would later admit they were fooled by that calm posture, that they never imagined he would be capable of anything truly vicious. But online, where he posted in his own words, a slightly different picture started to emerge, hints of someone who knew he was taking her through things, but expected her to keep overlooking the obstacles. A mindset where her pain was framed as just another bump she was supposed to step over to keep the relationship going. And as Dee's businesses grew, as she took on more clients, found bigger spaces, and talked openly about leveling up her life, Michael's role didn't expand in the same way. Instead of matching her energy, he became increasingly comfortable being the one who received. Have you ever seen that in a relationship, where one person's success becomes the unspoken tension in the room, where instead of feeling proud, the other partner starts to feel small, left behind, or threatened? That's where the cracks began, small at first, easy to dismiss if you wanted to believe love could fix everything. Arguments that could be brushed off as stress, controlling comments that could be excused as protectiveness, accusations that could be rationalized away, because it's easier to question yourself than to admit someone you sacrificed so much for might be treating you unfairly. From the outside, the photos still looked perfect, the posts still read like a love story, and the money and attention still flowed his way. But underneath that polished surface, a very different reality was starting to form, one where Dee's loyalty and success weren't protecting her. They were putting a target on her back in the one place she should have been safest. What no one around Dee realized was that the shift in her relationship wasn't sudden. It was gradual, like a dimmer switch lowering the light one notch at a time. Michael didn't erupt, he eroded. And because the decline didn't come all at once, it was easy for her to convince herself that things would eventually smooth out, that the man she waited 5 years for would rise to the level of love she kept giving him. But behind closed doors, a different pattern was forming, one that her friends only recognized in hindsight. His quiet persona, the one that charmed them in rooms and family gatherings, was not the same man she dealt with privately. What looked like calmness on the surface was actually control. What looked like shyness was really surveillance. What seemed like dependency was growing possessiveness that tightened the longer they lived together. You have to wonder, have you ever seen someone shift depending on the room they're standing in? Someone who smiles in public but sharpens behind closed doors. Because that's exactly the dynamic Dee found herself trapped in. Michael became increasingly territorial about her attention. If her phone buzzed, he wanted to know who it was. If she dressed up for work, he questioned why. If she posted on social media, he wanted to appear in it, to be praised in it, to be validated by strangers who didn't know the reality of what she was carrying. And the bigger her life became, with more clients, more visibility, more opportunities, the smaller he felt. That insecurity didn't stay silent. It spoke in accusations, in pressure, in emotional suffocation. What made everything more complicated was the fact that Dee truly believed in marriage. She believed in family. She believed in fixing things. And like many women who love deeply, She chose to try harder instead of stepping away. It's heartbreaking to imagine how many times she swallowed her discomfort, convinced herself that she was overreacting, or pushed away the thought that something about this relationship felt like walking on glass. At the same time, Michael was facing his own internal battle, not the kind that grows a man, but the kind that intensifies every insecurity he ever carried. While Dee was earning, planning, building, and providing, he hadn't yet found his place outside the walls of the prison he had just left. His re-entry into society didn't come with a job, a purpose, or a sense of direction. Instead, he gravitated toward the one thing he understood: control. Control became the only currency he felt he had. But here, where the story takes a darker, quieter turn, Dee began confiding in small pieces that she was tired. Tired of being the only giver. Tired of being questioned. Tired of carrying a marriage by herself. Tired of pouring into a person who could not pour back. She didn't broadcast this publicly. She didn't post about it. She didn't shame him online. She shared these feelings only in fragments to her close family members, to her daughter, and even then, she mentioned it gently. She still tried to protect him even while breaking under the weight of it all. And then came the moment every abused woman remembers, the moment she decides she's done. For Dee, that moment came when she realized she had been dimming her light, shrinking her world, and sacrificing her peace just to maintain a relationship where she felt increasingly unseen. She started to speak differently, not with anger but with clarity. She began to hint at wanting out, wanting a fresh start, wanting her life back. But the problem with giving someone everything is that they start to believe they own it, including you. Michael didn't take her desire for separation as the end of a relationship. He took it as a threat. In his mind, losing Dee meant losing a home he didn't build, a lifestyle he didn't earn, a woman he hadn't cared for but depended on completely. It meant losing someone who validated him in front of the world. And to a man whose identity was hanging by a thread, that was unbearable. Around this time, Dee's behavior began to shift in ways only a few people caught. She started posting about accountability, about starting over, about outgrowing people, about recognizing when something wasn't from God. These posts didn't name Michael, but they didn't need to. Anyone who had watched her love him loudly could sense something was changing. Meanwhile, Michael's behavior grew more erratic. His jealousy sharpened. His accusations escalated. His moods became unpredictable. He slipped back into old habits, old vices, old patterns that he had never actually worked through. This new tension didn't stay hidden. It spilled into real-world arguments. They clashed frequently, not just over small things, but over the foundation of their marriage. He wanted control. She wanted peace. He wanted possession. She wanted fairness. He wanted to keep her. She wanted to breathe again. And then came the statement she made that should chill any viewer watching this right now. "I feel like I'm going to die." She said it to her sister. She said it days before the end. She said it without knowing that her words were already prophecy. If you've ever ignored your intuition or watched someone ignore theirs, you know how terrifying hindsight can be. And maybe you've been in a situation where something felt wrong before it was wrong, that quiet dread in your stomach that whispers, "Leave now." Dee felt that whisper, but she didn't follow it. On the days leading to her death, Michael grew increasingly paranoid. He accused her of cheating, of setting him up, of betrayal, all baseless, all symptoms of insecurity and narcotics, of fear and entitlement wrapped together. He questioned her every move, every message, every interaction. And despite how draining this was, she still tried to maintain normalcy for the sake of her daughter and her responsibilities. But the relationship wasn't just cracking now, it was collapsing. She told him again she wanted a divorce. She said it with firmness this time, not emotion, not tears, not desperation, just clarity. And clarity is the one thing a controlling partner cannot tolerate. This was the moment everything changed. Because in his eyes, she wasn't walking away, she was abandoning him. and abandonment to a man who had lived through instability, rejection, and incarceration felt like the ultimate betrayal. He didn't react with reflection, he reacted with obsession. And then he made the ask that would change everything. "Meet me, we need to talk." It sounded calm, reasonable, familiar. But underneath, that invitation was a storm she never saw coming. Maybe she thought it was just another argument. Maybe she thought he wanted closure. Maybe she wanted peace so badly, she walked right into danger with hope in her heart. She drove to meet him at the housing complex where his father lived, the same place where the last clear footage of her alive would be recorded. What happened next would push this story past heartbreak into horror. I want to hear from you as a viewer. If someone you loved said they were afraid they might die, what would you do? Would you brush it off as fear? Or would you take it seriously and intervene? Tell me your thoughts in the comments. When Dee stepped into Michael's car that day, she didn't know she had just entered the final chapter of her life. Surveillance cameras captured the last calm seconds before everything spiraled, two vehicles pulling into the lot separately, her walking over to his, the door closing behind her. No one could hear what was said inside that car, but investigators later described what they saw on the footage as movement consistent with conflict. A quiet phrase for a violent struggle happening just feet away from ordinary families who had no idea history was unfolding in their parking lot. Inside that car, Michael wasn't looking for a conversation. He was looking for control he feared he had lost forever. When she told him firmly, confidently, that she was done, something in him snapped. Nothing dramatic on the surface. No outburst. Just that silent shift into a mindset where desperation replaces logic. The car didn't stay parked. He drove. Not to talk. Not to cool off. Not to work things out. He drove with purpose, away from the buildings, away from witnesses, away from anyone who could intervene. The investigation later showed precisely how far he went before stopping on a stretch with no pedestrians. No homes, no cameras, no sounds except traffic in the distance. At some point in that drive, he pulled the trigger. It wasn't random, it wasn't chaotic, it wasn't an accident. It was a decision. And the most devastating part isn't just that he harmed her, it's that he discarded her like she meant nothing. The same man she married, the same man she honored publicly, the same man she financially supported, emotionally supported, spiritually supported, opened the door and left her on the roadside, taking with him the last sandal on her foot as evidence he didn't even realize he was carrying. Meanwhile, her daughter Maya was still calling, still texting, still waiting for a reply that would never come. As the night dragged on, her family grew increasingly anxious. Dee never went silent. She never left people hanging. She never failed to pick up for her daughter. So when hours passed with no answer, her family knew something was wrong, not she's busy wrong, but the kind of wrong that twists your stomach. Her niece reached out first, then her sister, then her brother. No answer. No read receipts. No activity online. They contacted Michael, and when he answered, his tone didn't match the panic rising within the family. He claimed he hadn't seen her, claimed he didn't know anything, claimed he was just as confused as they were. But when he said those words, he wasn't packing or crying or searching. He was walking around the complex casually, blending into the background of the very neighborhood where he had last been with her. He didn't join the search. He didn't help with the calls. He didn't even look concerned. Instead, he maneuvered himself away from the spotlight, drifting from one location to another, avoiding home, avoiding questions, avoiding every opportunity to tell the truth. Her family kept searching anyway. Hours later, they found her car at the complex where his father lived, not in a normal parking spot, not somewhere she would have parked intentionally, but tucked away in a manner that immediately suggested panic or concealment. Her sister walked around the vehicle, using her criminal justice instincts to study every detail. There was a handprint, there were smudges, there were signs that something had happened. Within minutes, the confirmation came in the cruelest way possible. A community blog posted about a body found just 3 minutes away from where the car had been discovered. Her family rushed to the scene, hopping against hope that it wasn't her, that maybe this was a coincidence, that maybe they were wrong. But when they arrived, they saw clothing they recognized. Shoes they recognized. Hair they recognized. They gave the police the description they didn't want to say out loud. They waited for the nod they prayed wouldn't come. And when the officers confirmed it was her, everything collapsed. Imagine that moment. Imagine standing on the side of a road at sunrise, the air still cold, the world still quiet, while the person you love is lying behind yellow tape because someone they trusted with their life destroyed it. The grief wasn't loud. It was paralyzing. Investigators immediately began tracing Michael's steps. They searched his home, found his car, and saw blood visible from the outside. Inside the vehicle, they found a casing from the weapon. They found the matching sandal. They found signs of a struggle. They found firearms inside the residence, but they didn't find him. Michael didn't stay put. He moved. He hid. He drifted through Dallas like a shadow. They eventually tracked him to a barbershop miles away, where he attempted to blend into the day like nothing had happened. But even then, he didn't run when officers approached. He didn't fight. He didn't resist. He surrendered with a strange calmness, as if the reality of what he'd done hadn't reached him, or as if he had already accepted what was coming. When questioned, he didn't offer remorse. He didn't express confusion. He didn't talk about anger. Instead, he claimed he was under the influence of PCP. As if a chemical excuse could erase the truth. As if the hollow claim could rewrite the footage, the evidence, the timeline. As if intoxication could justify ending the life of a woman who spent years building him up. His arrest provided answers, but no comfort. What followed was the darkest journey for Dee's family, especially her daughter, who suddenly had to navigate a world where her anchor, her provider, her cheerleader, her entire motivation, had been violently taken away. Her mother's absence wasn't quiet. It echoed in every corner of their home, in every milestone she'd now face without her. Her sister Jasmine stepped into the spotlight not because she wanted to be seen, but because someone had to speak for Dee now. She talked about the horror of the last phone call, the fear Dee had expressed, the regret that she didn't push harder to intervene. Those interviews were filled with trembling breaths and pauses, the kind that happen when the pain is still fresh enough to taste. The investigation pieced together the timeline clearly, but the emotional aftermath was messier. Family members replayed conversations, replayed hints they missed, replayed every moment that might have changed the outcome if only they had seen the danger sooner. And viewers, you might feel the same tension. That quiet anger mixed with heartbreak. That ache that makes you want to reach through the screen and protect the version of her who still believed peace was possible. Because the truth is, Dee didn't die because she was naive. She didn't die because she was careless. She didn't die because she wasn't strong. She died because she loved a man who saw her love as ownership. She died because someone else's insecurity grew into violence. She died because walking away is often the most dangerous moment of a toxic relationship. But her name is not just the headline of a tragedy. It's a reminder, a warning, a call to pay attention to the red flags, even when they whisper instead of scream. And now, I want to hear from you. If you watched this story unfold, what part struck you the hardest? Where do you think the turning point happened? And most importantly, what do you think could have saved her? Share your thoughts below. Comment, like the video, and subscribe to True Crime Watch HD for more deep investigations, more cases, and more conversations that matter. Because telling her story isn't enough. Learning from it is the only way we honor her.